Hello, everyone, and happy Tuesday. Nick Marro DFS here with DFS Jayhawk to help you break down tonight's NBA DFS main slates on both DraftKings and FanDuel. We are here on the Occupy Fantasy channel. As always, we're going to try to go through game by game here, talk through all the major injury news, let us know how we're building our lineups tonight. Jayhawk, what are your initial takes on this slate here? Pretty decent size, but I was just telling you right before we went live, I wouldn't mind a little bit more value than what we're looking at.
Yeah, man, fun slate here. Definitely a bunch of interesting games here. Players out, so excited to break this down per usual. But yeah, I think we do need some more value for sure. I agree there.
Yeah, and I mean the value we have right now. I mean we do have it is coming in this first game. Again, Chad, I'm going to get to everyone. Appreciate you guys. Definitely going to shout you out. But I want to start here with the Cavs taking on the Indiana Pacers at 7 p.m. On the Cavs side, they're pretty much healthy. I think Sam Merrill's back. Not that that really matters. Ty Jerome is doubtful. And that's it. So the Cavs are the Cavs. I don't think we need to dig into them too deeply here. Jared Allen on DK, I think, is too cheap. He's really the one guy I see myself getting to. I am playing on both sides tonight, more so on DK. Just wanted to mention that. Mitchell, pretty decent spot for him. Garland, he's been playing really well. Mobley's Mobley. I mean, I don't mind any of the starters. Not crazy about Dean Wade. I know I'm sitting here begging for value, but he's not necessarily a piece I'm all that interested in. It's mostly just Allen on or not on FanDuel, excuse me, on DraftKings for me. Were you out on the Cavs before we dig into this mess that is the Indiana Pacers?
Yeah, man, definitely interesting. We'll get to the Pacers side here, but yeah, I think I like that Dre Allen call. 6,600 on DraftKings looks pretty enticing at that price. And then just quick shout with Max Strus here. Max Strus, excuse me.
Mhm.
4K. He ended up well, he got listed as starting and then came off the bench last game. So I think he's fine as well. But I agree. I love the Allen call. And then I kind of want to hear your take on the rest of Cleveland here, Mobley and Garland and these other guys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind them. It's just like if we're already locking in spots for these Pacers guys, it's like, do I really want to lock in my entire lineup at 7 o'clock, knowing we could get more news later? It is a great matchup for them. Don't get me wrong. And if you are playing a bunch of Indy, you're probably hoping this game stays close. In which case, I think Mobley and Garland would be my favorites. I mean, everyone has been saying Mitchell's due. I mean, this is a matchup where maybe we finally see it. But yeah, he's been really just ice cold shooting, not as aggressive as we're used to him being. I mean, that's going to change at some point. It's just, I don't know. Do I want to try to chase that wave right now on a slate where we do have a lot of good payups? Probably not. So, like I said, it's mostly Allen, probably Mobley, then Garland, then Mitchell in that order for me. But I don't know. I can't really say they're priorities, again, just because I don't want to lock up too many spots at 7.
Yeah, I love that shot. I agree. I think we have a bunch of good plays later. So
Yeah, so now let's talk about the other side of this one. And the spread is what? It's like, I don't know, around 10 points. So I guess there's slight blowout risk here. With the game being in Indiana, I think it's probably going to stay competitive, but it is obviously worth mentioning they're missing their best player in Tyrese Halliburton. Halliburton's going to be out. Still no Naismith, Wiseman, Jackson. That's really it as far as significant injury news goes. But yeah, man, I mean, historically, Halliburton being out meant we rushed to TJ McConnell, but we haven't seen him playing over 20 minutes, rarely, if at all, this season. Matherin has not been shooting the ball well, but his price has come down. I think he looks really good. And then Nemhard's probably going to be running the point for the most part. His price has come up a bit because he's actually been playing pretty well next to Halliburton. So it's just a weird situation. I do expect. Oh, the starting lineup's already out, so don't need to expect anything. Shepard is getting the start of the two. So again, McConnell coming off the bench, tough to really project his minutes. Shepard, not a guy who's really known as a great fantasy producer, but he is dirt cheap. I don't mind mixing him in as like a last piece in type thing. But the priorities here are probably Matherin and then Nemhard in that order. I mean, Siakam looks okay. Tough matchup for him. He doesn't really see much of a bump in usage with Halliburton off the floor. So yeah, it's the backcourt, but man, it just kind of feels like where they're priced. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, is it going to kill me if I don't play these Pacers? Like, what does Matherin need to really kill you? Like, over 35, 40? And, like, what does Nemhard and McConnell need? I mean, obviously, McConnell would be happy with 25 to 30. Nemhard, do we think he's getting over 30 against Cleveland, like, at this ownership? It's tough. This is the chalk place we're looking tonight, and like I'm trying to think of ways to get away from it, but at the same time, obviously on paper these are excellent plays. So I'm curious where you're at on the Pacers right now.
yeah, so I think it probably starts. You mentioned it with Benedict Matherin here. Just a 5,800, even in a tough
Yeah.
matchup here, he should look or should project pretty good. So I like him here as well as a Nemhard. You mentioned it. It's just probably a little bit too cheap, 5,300. So those are kind of the two pieces I firmly like. And then I think McConnell's still fine off the bench in tournaments. Our model still likes him here off the bench. So like McConnell in tournaments. And then in terms of the other guys here, Siakam, Turner, I'm kind of off the bigs here. Cleveland obviously pretty good interior defense. So I think for me it's probably just the guards here.
Yeah, I mean, I will say Siakam's price 7,100 does look pretty damn good. Obviously, not the best matchup, and he is not someone seeing a huge boost. So I'm with you for the most part, man. It really just comes down to like, do we want to be over the field? Like, if you're playing one single entry lineup tonight, would you have both Nemhard and Matherin, or do you prefer McConnell over either?
So I think definitely Matherin. I think the Nimhard McConnell, that's tough.
Yeah.
I'd have to see where the ownership ends up, but probably Nimhard, but it's super close.
Yeah, it is close, and the prices are close. The minutes aren't close, but the model does actually have McConnell as the better overall play, which is pretty interesting. So again, this game matters. We already have the starting lineup. It is a tough matchup, but at the same time, with Halliburton out, obviously there's a lot of minutes of usage to go around for this backcourt. So it's tricky. I'm going to look for pivots. I don't know that we necessarily have them. I agree with you though. I think Matherin is probably my favorite play. So let's check out chat here. Hoping it loads. And I did look a little bit into last year when Halliburton was out. Matherin was coming off the bench for most of those games, so it's not like there's a ton of data we can really scrape at the time. Currently, Heath with the "What's up, fellas? How's it going, Heath?" Savage Styles here, shouting out the fellas and the ladies to get the money tonight. Amari saying, "Let's do this." Right there with you, man. Giannis, Jokic, or both if there's enough value. Jose, this is tough. I'm leaning Jokic right now. We'll get to these two games individually. What's your initial lean on that one there, Jayhawk?
I also lean Jokic as well, so we're aligned there.
Yeah, I mean it's close, but Jokic is Jokic right now. Trey and Bogdan are both in. That's good to hear. And then do we like Ellis with Monk out? We'll dig a little bit deeper into this, Landon, when we do get to that game. Personally, I do actually like Ellis a lot here. But yeah, are you getting to Keon tonight? You think, Jayha?
Yeah, definitely. He's cheap and the model likes him, so two of the things I like to see there.
Yeah, they did start. I think I don't know. They threw out a weird starting lineup with Fox out last time, but it did turn out that with Monk out, it's usually Keon who gets the start. Shouts out Unicorn as well here. A little bit late, not too late, man, but maybe rewind a couple minutes for the Pacers stuff because that is going to be pretty damn important. Moving into the other 7 o'clock game on the slate, we have another relatively wide spread. We got the Thunder taking on the 76ers. No Embiid for the 76ers. Maxey went through shoot around. He's still listed as questionable. Caleb Martin, questionable. Don't know if he went through shoot around. Paul George is probable. Other than that, as far as significant injuries go, I mean, Martin, Lowry, McCain's out for the whole year. And then Drummond is still out as well. So let's start on the Sixers side here. I'm going to assume that Maxey plays. He went through shoot around. I'd be pretty surprised if he doesn't. Paul George has been excellent. This is a bad matchup, obviously, though, against one of the best defenses in the NBA. I don't know, man. It's like, is Dort going, and I'm someone who hates dealing with these individual matchups. I don't think they matter that much in NBA. I think people overcount. I think it's something that people make a mistake on. But for this particular matchup, I am curious who Dort's going to be on because he has been shutting guys down lately. I'm thinking it's Maxi, but if it's George, a play I do kind of like, then I don't know. AK is going to be way too much for him. Like, do you have a hunch there? And then just follow that up with where you're at on these 76ers.
Yes, I do agree here. I think he likely guards Maxi. He's kind of the main facilitator for Philly. So, yeah, if he guards Maxi, I think George is interesting. And then I just want to note he did go through shoot around, but I'm pretty sure he was a midday downgrade, right? Maybe not, but not too sure.
I think he was already questionable.
Was
I
he
don't
already
know that it was
questionable?
midday. Yeah, yeah. I'd have to
Okay.
double check that, but we will know this news as this game locks at 7. So
Yeah. And then to finish that question, I think Paul George is probably the main target here. AK
mhm.
8,100 on FanDuel. He's the main guy I'm getting to. I think Uber is still fine in tournaments. I don't love the price point, but it's a tough matchup. He's still in play at 4%, but I'd rather just get to George if I could.
Yeah, I like the Oubre shout. I mean, I've been pivoting off George most of the season and it's been working, but Paul George finally kind of seems like Paul George these last two games. I think he had a double double back to back starts, over 40 fantasy points, 50 fantasy points on DK. So yeah, he's kind of taken over that role again, even with Maxey on the floor. So Oubre has been a great pivot. I still think he's fine, but it's not really like he's a direct pivot since not that many people are even playing Paul George. I do want to mention Yabusele probably starting at center. I don't think I need to go there. Even when he's playing 30 plus minutes, he just hasn't been that productive. On FanDuel, you could use him as a power forward. I don't think it's crazy. Would feel a little bit better about this if we were to get Caleb Martin out. But I'm kind of off the Yabusele train for now until that price comes down a bit more. I know Drummond's out as well, but where are you at on the Dancing Bear there?
Shout out the Dancing Bear. I think, yeah, I don't love him in the spot. Just tough matchup, pretty steep price points here on both sides here. So I don't necessarily love Yabu here.
Yep. And one more shout. I'm going to say right now, I'm not going to be playing him tonight. But if you want to get really weird, you're playing 150 lineups. Eric Gordon has been in the rotation. He is still dirt cheap. He's gone over 20 fantasy points, two of his last three. So someone to mix in. I'm not going to be getting there, but I think that's enough for Philadelphia. OKC. I mean, this game's on TNT. If that means anything, I don't know. SGA obviously looks pretty good as a pay up, but there's really no significant injury news here. This team's healthier than they've been most of the season. Obviously, still no Chet Holmgren. Jay Mitchell's out, but he's hardly a piece of the rotation. Um, Dort, we're talking about his defense. I mean, at 4,100, you could probably play him on DK. Low floor, but high ceiling. Probably takes a few threes. Hartenstein looks good here against a team with no real centers available. But yeah, man, it gets a little like clogged up other than that because they are getting Alex Caruso back tonight. That's probably going to affect the upsides of guys like Casey Wallace, Isaiah Joe, etc. I don't mind SGA. I think I'd rather pay up for Giannis or Jokic, who Jose mentioned earlier tonight. I don't mind Dort just because of the price, but I can't say I feel great about it. But Hartenstein at 7K on DK definitely has some upside. Might be my favorite OKC shout this evening. But where are you at on the Thunder right now?
Yeah, so pretty much in lockstep with you. I think Hardenstein and SGA probably my two favorite plays here. If you're getting to any, you mentioned a good matchup for Hardenstein against Yabu here, and then I think SGA is pretty much like a pivot to the studs up top if you want to get unique there. So good matchup. The one thing that does concern me is the spread here. 13 points, not like blowout territory, but it's still OKC at home. So yeah, I think
It's in Philly, isn't
was
it?
in Philly? Interesting.
It's in Philly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, never mind.
Not that it changes much, but yeah, I feel you.
Fair. Yeah, but yeah,
um,
that's all I think.
Yeah, I mean, again, I've been trying to avoid games I think are blowing out once in a while. I don't know that this is one I'd put in that category. And honestly, every time I do try to do that, it seems to fail. So probably best to almost ignore blowouts at this point, which is usually my philosophy. I've just been, I don't know, that's part of my game. I definitely want to tighten up in these next coming weeks. But let's move to the 7:30 game. There's one 7:30 game. Phoenix Suns taking on the Atlanta Hawks. One of the higher totals on the board here, 236. We did just get word that Trey Young and Bogdanovich are going to be available for the Hawks, but they're also missing Jalen Johnson, Larry Nance. That's it, but that is significant. Let's start with Atlanta here, then we'll get into Phoenix. I like Vit Krejci a lot tonight, maybe more than I should. Sorting by DK value, he is the top of the model on DK, second behind Dyson Daniels on FanDuel, so I feel a little bit better about it. But I honestly think point per dollar, he's safer than a lot of the Pacers guys because at 3,400, you don't need him to have some tremendous game. We know he's going to play 26 plus minutes. So that's enough for me to kind of like the spot. And again, Phoenix's defense has definitely taken a big step back this year. Pretty favorable matchup for these guys. Capella getting a ton of love. I don't know. He's been super volatile. He is so cheap though. Like kind of like Gobert last night, who had a pretty good game. It's like, no, he hasn't been playing that great, but he probably should still be more expensive than 4,900. FanDuel 5,500. Bit more of a conversation. I think he's fine there. Bogdanovich, I mean, I really just haven't been getting to him much. The price is down. I think he's fine. But like I said, I think Krejci might be my favorite Hawk here tonight. Dyson Daniels tends to get overlooked. And this is funny. On DK, 2% owned. at 7,100. FanDuel, where he's 100 cheaper, 27% owned. That tells me that maybe he's a pretty good tournament play over on DK tonight. But yeah, I definitely want to get to some Krejci. Trey is Trey. He's fine. But yeah, I think I'd rather play, like I said before, one of the pay up centers or Giannis. But where are you at on Atlanta, man? And feel free to talk me off the Krejci ledge because I'm probably hanging on it loosely right now with a pit of darkness below me to get poetic. But where are we at on these Hawks?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I will not be talking you off the Krejci here. I do like him as well. 20% owned, 3,400. I just think he's too cheap on DraftKings. So I do like him a lot for value. Definitely firmly in play. And then my gut call here, man, is going to be Bogdanovich. I don't know how many times this guy has burned me, but he's 4,300 and a good matchup here. High total. I kind of like Bogdanovich here in tournaments. And then in terms of the bigs here for Atlanta, Okongwu and Capella, it's so tough, man. Okongwu is projected to be higher owned. Obviously, Capella looks good at his price. If you like Okongwu or Capella more, I think I'm probably going to shift there. Like first glance, I do slightly like Capella more, a lower ownership, but it's really close, man. I kind of wanted to hear your take here on the bigs.
Yeah, I mean, the philosophy is usually just go with the guy who plays more minutes. Capella plays like 4 to 6 more minutes per night, but when you look at the game logs, Okongwu, even just playing 22 minutes a game, has been just as productive. So if you're looking for a way to get different, unfortunately, Okongwu is more popular. But yeah, I think they're both fine. And honestly, I do think the savings are pretty important tonight on a slate where I'm not loving much of the value. But yeah, I like Okongwu. I like Capella. I do kind of wish the field wasn't more on a Kongwu than they are, though, because 20% on DK, 30 on FanDuel does feel a little bit hefty. But again, power forward eligibility on FanDuel, I do think that's a really solid play. Um, but yeah, I mean, Capella's really going to be half his own. That's kind of crazy. Like, I get pivoting, and like, I prefer a Kongwu in a vacuum as a play, but we got to factor in ownership in these large field contests, especially. So, Capella probably the better tournament play in like smaller field stuff, cash games. I'd stick with a Kongwu, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree there.
It's tough. But yeah, I don't know, man. Capella, he just he's been a disappointment his whole career, in my opinion, unfortunately, since he was in Houston. On the Phoenix side of things, maybe not a ton of significant injury news, but they did shake up the lineup recently. No, Grayson Allen's probable. Nurk is out. That's the one piece, I guess, that we need to bring up. But yeah, they've moved Beal to the bench, who's actually been playing pretty well off the bench. But what that does is it creates a little bit more usage for Booker and Durant in that first stint, which is enough for them to look pretty good at their respective price points. Booker has been playing slightly better than Durant in terms of fantasy production, but obviously guards an easier position to fill than forward. For that reason, we're seeing Durant getting a lot of love tonight. Not as much for Booker. I do prefer Booker of the two. Um, but yeah, I think you could play either of them. I'm not crazy about Plumlee. This does feel like a matchup where they're going to need him for 20 plus minutes, but at the same time, he's just never really a guy you could trust. 200 more on DK, you're up to a Congo. I'd much rather play him. And then Royce O'Neal's back in the rotation as well. So I kind of think the rest of these like secondary pieces are pretty much priced where they should be. We've seen Iguodaro recently getting 20 plus minutes a game. I actually think he is the most interesting piece of value off the bench. But again, kind of volatile. They don't necessarily need to stay big here against Atlanta. I know they have Capella and Okongwu, but they both kind of play like stretch big. So I don't know. I do kind of like Iguodaro as a value piece. Really like Booker, kind of like KD, but that's pretty much it for me on Phoenix. How about you?
Yeah, so quick shout out here to Oso. He allowed me to ship a showdown contest, so I just want to give
Oh
him
yeah.
his flowers real quick. But I think in terms of Katie and Booker, so obviously we should see Booker be guarded by Dyson here, but I still like Booker in this matchup, so I think I'd probably go Booker then KD in terms of how I'd rank them. And then I love the Oso shot, man. He's just, especially in this matchup, he probably plays more. Plumlee has kind of seen his minutes tick down in the past few games. So, like Oso, and then Bradley Beal projected to be, sub 10% here on both sides. Can't say I love it, but I think I'd just rather get to the studs here. But he's in play for sure. It's a great game environment. So,
Yeah, these teams played a few days ago on the 9th, which is what, 5 days ago, in Phoenix. Booker, Durant, and Beal all scored like 45 fantasy points, pretty much exact. So, like, I don't know. Obviously, Booker has to deal with Daniels' defense, but I don't know. They create screens, they find ways to get him open. Beal was awesome off the bench. He shot tremendously. I don't know that we can count on that. Obviously, he's a discount off the other two. So, if no one wants to play Beal and people are playing Durant and Booker, he's definitely a logical pivot. You could use that salary to maybe upgrade elsewhere. But yeah, a great game environment. Don't love that it's one of the earlier games, but 236 point total between two fast teams that kind of have shaky defense to say the least right now. Definitely a spot to be looking for fantasy purposes. All right, let's bring up the chat here, see what we got going on. McConnell or Ellis? I'm leaning Ellis right now. How about you, Jay?
Yeah, I would say probably Keon, just because I like Nimhard more as well.
Yep. Warlord, any winning picks? I mean, at the end of the show, if we have time, we like to build a lineup based on everything we're talking about. Going through game by game right now, definitely highlighting our favorites. But yeah, hopefully all of these picks are winning. Savage here, like talking more of these 8 o'clock and later games tonight. Yeah, I get that. Just have to hope there's more news that breaks. The thing is, we have most of it, I think. Ball at 4,900 on FanDuel. White and Desumable questionable. I'm fine with it, man. We've been ball brothers here at Occupy the past few weeks. Shouts out LiAngelo and his $8 million record deal. But on FanDuel, especially where you get the points for blocks and steals, 3 each, he's more appealing over there. Always like him as kind of a last piece in. He's overpriced a little bit because the minutes are going to be capped around 25. But like I just mentioned, those stocks definitely can help you climb a leaderboard. Is he starting? I didn't see that, and I'm talking about him as though he's not starting, Jose. I don't think he's going to start.
He
Um,
should start. Yeah,
Best time to play. I mean, Warlord, if you're new to NBA DFS, you want to build as close to lock as possible because more than any other sport, injury news matters. If someone's out, we know who's going to benefit, etc. If you build in the morning, your lineup's probably not going to do well. If you kind of process all the news throughout the day, build as close to lock as you can, and then remember you got to make changes throughout the night as we get more news. So closer to the games, the better. I will say. Power, love to hear it, man. One of our sharp guys who tends to view the show and chime in saying he's getting a lot of it. Um, okay, yeah. I didn't know if there was a pun where you're being negative, as you usually are on a lot of these plays, but love to hear that you're on him. And then, yeah, Allen in, throw away the whole second team. I still like Iguodaro, man. I don't think Grayson's going to affect him too much. Obviously, the big versus Grayson kind of running some of that second unit. But you're right. That is worth mentioning. I think Grayson was out that game that Beal had a crazy, crazy good game off the bench. So good shout on that one. All right, so let's get into this 8 o'clock window now. Making decent time. I got to speed up a little bit. But we get Pelicans and the Bulls. Another game with a massive total, 241 points here. On the Pelican side, Murray's available. I guess he was on the injury report earlier in the day. No Ingram or Herb Jones. Zion is in and available, though. So obviously, the presence of Zion kind of cuts into some of these other guys. He is sub 9K. We have been pushing 30 minutes. I actually think Zion's a good tournament play here. More so because of the ownership. I think if you're playing one lineup, it's kind of too risky to really mess with, but I don't mind it. I'm probably going to mix him into some of my lower dollar stuff tonight. Murray McCollum been playing well, just kind of priced where they should be. Trey Murphy, someone who's definitely been suffering with Zion in the lineup. Don't think we can play him until his price comes down below 7K. Missy's fine in the front court. Not the best matchup for him. Obviously, Zion's going to cut into his upside as well. I like Zion here, man. Maybe not enough to play him in my higher dollar stuff, but like I said, I do want to mix him in if no one's going to play him. If he's going to play 30 minutes against the Chicago Bulls, like he's got 50-point upside. But where are you at on the Pels right now?
yeah. Great shout there with Zion. I mean, I just want to play this guy when he is low owned because once he finally gets chalkier, it's going to be harder to play him. But I think at 8,900 here, 1% ownership against Chicago, you mentioned it. Great spot here for Zion, even at like limited minutes here. And then I kind of want to hear your take on DeJounte. I don't necessarily love him because of all the good spendits we have, but again, another guy and a great total here that has a huge ceiling. So, what's your kind of take on the rest of the team and DeJounte here?
Yeah, I like DeJounte. I just think he's, like I said, kind of priced where he should be. And on DK where he's more expensive, I like him because he's low owned. On FanDuel where he's pushing 30%, that seems a little bit crazy to me. The price dip is significant, and it is an amazing matchup. I just think, I don't know. There's probably pivots there if you're eating chalk, but he's a good play. Like, don't let me talk anyone off playing him. Again, this is such a good matchup for opposing teams right now. But yeah, I wouldn't want to play McCollum and DeJounte in the same lineup, but they both have a ton of upside. It's almost like they've been alternating good games. Like, not exactly, but one or the other probably goes for 50 plus tonight. It's just you're kind of picking between the two. I do think it's more likely to be DeJounte, but you're getting a discount at ownership and price. I don't mind pivoting to McCollum if you're eating chalk at a lot of other positions. But yeah, man, Murray's good. He's a good play. I did just want to bring up one more thing about Zion, though. So, again, we think he's only going to play 28, 29 minutes or so tonight. His first two matchups back against the Timberwolves and the Boston Celtics. So, two of the worst matchups for him. 33% usage in both of those games. Did get over 40 FanDuel points, just shy of that on DK his last time out. So if he suddenly has a better game here shooting, plays the same minutes, this is a much better matchup than those two, dealing with Gobert and obviously Boston, one of the best defensive teams in the league. I just think he has a ton of upside. So I'm going to continue to beat that Zion drum a little bit here. But yeah, man, you're right to be on Murray. Like, he's been excellent. And again, all these guys that are going to have usage look good here. It's really just that big three, though, that I trust: Murray, McCollum, Zion.
Yeah, one last Shire. Are you getting to any Trey Murphy? It's a pretty good spot for him, but it's tough for me to get to him.
Yeah, man, and it is tough because like the on-off court numbers say that he should be someone who's going to suffer with Zion out there, but at the same time, I mean, he had a ceiling against Boston, so it's like, I don't know. Are we just not looking at enough data yet? At the price, like I said, I kind of want to wait to see that price come down a little bit,
Yeah,
but I don't think it's crazy at like no ownership at all. I just think that. I don't know. He's probably a little overpriced for this role, but maybe the matchup can offset that. But yeah, he'd be fourth for me. I'm not getting to any right now, though.
yeah, I love that. That's kind of how I felt too.
Nice, dude. Good to hear. Okay, well, now we can talk about the Bulls side of things. Still waiting on some news here, I believe. Kobe White and Ayo Dunsumu, both questionable. Everything else pretty much par for the course. No Torrey Craig. Not that that's major, but those are a few minutes. So taking a look here, man, I guess it's kind of a wait and see, right? I mean, either way, Zach Levine's going to be pretty solid. He's finally playing like we want him to. I think the upside's been great from him lately, pushing 50 fantasy points on a night to night basis. Maybe if AO comes back, that could cut into that a little. I don't think enough for me to not be playing Zach Levine. My favorite pull here, Vooch, as far as value goes, rates extremely well. Like, I can't really fully wrap my head around it, but the model absolutely loves him here tonight, probably because of the matchup and the total, understandably so. But to see a guy at 8K with a 15.4 FanDuel value score, we should probably be playing some Vucevic. And then obviously, if AO and White are out, that's a big boost for Giddy. It would be a boost for Ball, but like I said, I think his minutes are capped. So if you're playing Ball already, probably stick with him. It would feel a little bit better if one of those other guards are out, but it's not like he's going to suddenly play 30 plus minutes. So maybe don't hang your whole night on him. But where are you at on the Bulls right now? Again, we're still waiting on some news with these guys.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned Vooch here because I'm usually Team Zach Levine here, but this is just the nutted spot for Vooch here in tournaments. New Orleans, they have Zion back here, but it's still there's just still really bad in the interior. So I love Vooch. He's kind of my gut play here from Chicago. And then you mentioned it if Kobe White misses here and or AO, I think Giddy is in play as well. Like 7% owned. He is a huge ceiling in this spot. So like him, and I think Levine's still fine too, 8.6K. But if I had to pick one, I think I do slightly prefer Vooch, like I mentioned.
Nice, man. I would follow up with you on the Bulls. I think you're on the right track for all of that, though. But I do want to mention Tyrese Maxey did just get ruled out. I'm sitting here saying I think he plays. He is going to be out. The issue is the matchup, right? They're playing the Thunder. It's already a 13-point spread. Probably going to get even wider now. I mean, Paul George should look really good here at 8K. If this game stays close, he's probably going for 50 plus fantasy points. But is it going to stay close? I don't know. As far as the starting lineup goes, I think we're going to see Red Reggie Jackson slide in. He is minimum priced on, I think, both sites because they still don't have Kyle Lowry available. So Reggie, I guess, becomes interesting. I just don't know that he's someone who would play in a blowout. I don't know that that necessarily matters at 3K. Probably going to be a pretty good value play, but we're going to have to wait and see how the data updates. And then I mentioned Eric Gordon as like a gross dart throw. He's probably going to slide into the starting lineup here as well. Caleb Martin will be unavailable. So Oubre and George look good. It's just, does this game stay close? How bullish are you on these 76ers now with this news?
Man, you mentioned that. I wish we had any other matchup here for Philly because I think all these guys would look so much better. It's still a tough matchup. So Paul George is going to project off the page probably now, but I think he's still great. It's just you mentioned it, tough matchup, blowout potential. Yeah, and I agree with the Reggie Jackson. He should start here. We'll have to see what happens, but I think Reggie probably is who I prefer because he's like what 3K, so won't
Yeah.
take much for him to.
Yeah, and again, now we can maybe get a little stars and scrubs with it if you're trying to get to the Jokic's and Giannis's of the world. We got 3 games left in about 15 minutes. I'm going to have to rip through these. So in each of these games, I think this first game we got to talk about the Kings. Like, there's no way around it. We got the Kings here taking on the Bucks, 227.5 point total. No Malik Monk. So I'm going to try to be quick. I've been kind of long winded today, but with Monk out, we should see Keon Ellis slide in the starting lineup. He's going to look great on both sites. We have him for 30 minutes. He's been tremendous in terms of fantasy point per dollar. Coming off a bad game, I'm not really worried about it. And then Keegan Murray fills a pretty thin forward position, coming off, I think, 3 or 4 games in a row now where he's actually exceeding value for that price point. Obviously, a little bit more usage for him with Monk not around. Love these two. I think Murray and Ellis look good. I think Fox is solid, maybe a little bit over owned. And I know there's other payups we like, but Sabonis, sub 10% on both sites, probably sees a little bit of a bump here as well. But more than anything, it's going to be Murray, and Ellis for me on Sacramento. How about you?
Yeah, pretty much the same here. Really good spot here for Keegan Murray in terms of shooting. So I love Keegan at 5,100. And then we already mentioned Keon. Don't need to go over that too much. He looks great here without Malik Monk. And then I'm definitely Team Falks over Team Sabonis here. Just another really good spot for Falks in terms of guards. So yeah, agreed. Love Falks, like Keon, love Keegan. And then I'm off Sabonis here in this spot.
Yeah, there's this other centers. Like when you're up in that range, it's hard not to just get up to Giannis, who we're about to talk about now, or Jokic. But yeah, I do just want to shout out one more player. Whenever we see a guy fall out of this rotation, it might mean a few more minutes for someone like Trey Lyles. 3,700 on DK. I'd have to look at the FanDuel price. I don't mind him. Like he could get hot from three. If he's going to play 25 plus, pretty good fantasy play. Just wide range of outcomes on him. The Bucks, I believe, are healthy tonight. Don't want to spend too much time on them. Actually, Middleton's out, so that's significant. No Gary Trent either. So yeah, gotta take my words back. They're a little bit thin in terms of this rotation. Good matchup though. I mean, Giannis looks tremendous. It's just we're comparing him to Jokic. Like the only reason you're not playing Giannis here is probably because you're going to Joker. I love Giannis if you can get to him. Looks excellent. Dame, fine as well. Pretty much priced where he should be. I think there's other great guards. You just mentioned Fox, he's probably a little bit safer of a play, but this is a good matchup for these guys. Those are probably the only 2 bucks I'm getting to. But Giannis, really, really strong play tonight. Where are you at on Milwaukee?
Yeah, it's pretty much just Giannis. Portis is somewhat chalky, but I'm not getting there. I'd rather just get up to Giannis if I can.
Yep, I'm with you, man. AJ Green, if he starts, I'd have some interest if Trent's out, but I think they would just go with Jackson and Prince. So I don't want to go down that road. I'm shouting out like a weird play from each team where I can, but probably not going to get to that one. So let's go to this next game here, 9:30. Denver taking on the Mavericks. On the Denver side of things, Jokic looks like one of the best plays on the slate. Aaron Gordon's back. He's probable. Jokic and Murray are on the injury report, but both listed as probable, so no issues there. Kankar is out. Jokic looks tremendous. Getting a ton of love on both sides. I think as more value opens up, he becomes even easier to get to. But this is one of the better matchups for centers right now against Dallas. He's been smashing every single game. My favorite pay up. I mean, the field's getting there, but I think they should. I love Joker here. Don't mind maybe mixing in some Westbrook or Porter, but really the only priority for me right now is Joker. Where are you at on Denver?
Yeah, it's pretty much just Jokic. With AG back here, Russ is still picking up some ownership, but I don't like Russ nearly as much here with AG back. So it's mainly just Jokic. I agree.
Yeah, if Russ stays in the starting lineup, I think we can still play him. But I think soon we'll see him slide to the bench, even though that lineup's been really solid. We're also getting back on the Dallas side tonight, probably Kyrie Irving. Still no Luca. If Kyrie's in, he looks decent. Kind of tough to trust him first game back. Other than that, no Exum. But yeah, I think if Kyrie's in, we can maybe play some Kyrie. If he's out, I don't hate the idea of like I don't know, Quentin Grimes or PJ Marshall on DK. Really nothing here I'm excited to play though. I do want to bring up the FanDuel price of Kyrie, 8,200 if he's in. Probably too cheap. I don't think Kyrie's playing unless he could play his full minutes. So yeah, Kyrie, 8,200 FanDuel, good play if he's in. DK 93, a little bit expensive, but if no one wants to get there, not the worst idea in tournaments. But where you at on Dallas?
Yeah, pretty much agreed here. Kyrie, good FanDuel price. So don't want to reinstate that too much, but I like that call. And then I'm just really not getting too much here from Dallas outside of Kyrie there.
Yep, I'm with you, man. And the spread does look close enough, I think, so we don't have to be too concerned about that blowout. Last game on the slate now, and then I will get to chat, and then hopefully we have time for a quick build. We got the Nets taking on the Blazers. Pretty tight spread. Nets are supposed to get D'Lo and Cam Johnson back tonight. We don't know yet. They're still questionable. Nick Claxton is questionable as well. No Cam Thomas, no Trent Wofford. Ben Simmons also questionable. D'Anthony Melton is out. Total mess here for the Nets. If D'Lo's back, the price on DK is going to be tempting. 5,500 is definitely too cheap for him and what he could do in a matchup like this. Probably the one net I have interest in if all these guys are in. If he's out again, though, and Simmons is in, I don't mind getting to Keon Johnson. Technically, a revenge game for him. Not that that really matters. I don't like when Keon's playing point guard, though. So if all these guys are out, we get Keon at point, maybe pump the brakes a little. I like him playing off ball. Other than that, I mean, Claxton's not a crazy idea. Clowney, when he's making shots, is good. Other night, pretty much a Tony Snell performance out of him. No one's going to want to go back there. But if he starts, he's viable. But nothing from Brooklyn really for me, unless Russell's in and starting, in which case on DK, he does look good.
Yeah, pretty much locks up. D'Lo is the main target here if he plays, and then just quick shout out to Noah Clowney for going one for 10 on Sunday. But I know you saw that in Discord, but
Yep.
yeah, so pretty much just Russell here for me if he plays.
Yeah, man, that's fully tanking now. And it's funny, Ben Simmons, like, well, we need to try to win, even if the front office doesn't want us to. It's like, Ben, where have you been trying to win the past decade? Like, cool it, buddy. We're trying to get Cooper Flag here. On the Portland Trailblazers side of things, pretty significant injury news. Still no Jeremy Grant. Denny Avila dealing with an ankle injury, though. There's a pretty good chance he ends up out tonight. Delano Blanton questionable as well. Still no Matisse Thybulle. Robert Williams is questionable. So if Denny's in, he looks fine. If he's out, Shady on Sharp becomes one of the best plays on the slate. I think even if Denny's in, you could get to Shady on just a little bit too cheap for what he's been doing lately. Great matchup, obviously, here against these Nets. Simon's a guard with some upside, pretty much priced where he should be. Aiton, a center with some upside, a little bit cheap, but pretty much priced where he should be. I do want to say, too, though, if Denny's out, Scoot is going to look even better. 4,200 on DK. Been playing pretty well. A few extra minutes for him goes a long way. Priority here for me right now is Sharp. I'm assuming Denny's out. If Denny's in, would love to get to him a little bit, but I don't know if you have a hunch on that one. And just follow that up with where you're at on Portland.
Yeah, so I guess my hunch would be I think Denny probably sits here, just because he hasn't really been questionable a ton this year. So I think he probably sits here. And then I love that Sharp call, especially I know I talked pretty highly in Indiana earlier, but I think they're definitely still fadeable in terms of the guards. So I think Shadyon looks great here. And then Anthony Simons and Scoot, I think they would also both look great here without Denny. So I slightly prefer Scoot for the price on DraftKings, but I think both those guys would look a lot better too.
Yep, I'm right there with you, man. Totally agree. We did get some news since we last checked. Lonzo's in today. He's going to rest Wednesday. Kobe White is in. AO is out. He's going to be back tomorrow. So pretty much what we've been dealing with Chicago is the same tonight. So no real changes there. DeAndre Hunter's out for the Hawks. That's going to significantly improve your Bogdan call, as well as a few of these other Hawks we mentioned. I like Krejci even more now. Gary Trent is out for Milwaukee. Ryan Rollins is in. And I think that's it as far as news. Let me take a quick look at chat. Hopefully, not too many questions, and then we'll get to a build very quickly. You're not on double duty today, right? Smitty's in the Discord, I believe.
Yeah, I think Spenny's in there or will be in there.
Nice. Um, Yeah, Junior, does it end up under owned? I would say low owned except for Jokic. He's going to be popular, I think, no matter what. Do you have a take on that otherwise, JR?
Um,
Denver
yeah,
Dallas ownership.
yeah. I think it probably stays the same. To be honest with you.
Yeah, like Kyrie would be a pretty good play on FanDuel, like we said, but I think people are hip to that. There are some pivots in that range. We got a bunch of news that we already talked about, so I'm not going to pull that up on the screen. Amari, how do we feel about Obi? Pretty interesting question here. I mean, Toppin, to me, he's volatile, high ceiling, low floor. Don't mind him in tournaments. Probably wouldn't want him if I'm only playing one lineup, though. What's your thoughts on Toppin here?
Yeah, I'm not really getting to a ton of them, so that's kind of I don't love them.
Yeah, Des here with a very important question. I'm going to try to refresh the data. Hopefully, this doesn't freeze my stream. If it does, sorry in advance. So, who's a play? Eric Gordon, Reggie Jackson. I mean, Gordon's going to look okay. I don't think we necessarily need to get to him. Oubre popping is the best value here, followed by Krejci, Murray, and Reggie Jackson now. So no ownership to these guys yet. I think the bottle is going to continue to update. And yeah, Des, technically a revenge game for Reggie. I think almost every game's a revenge game for him, though, considering how many teams he's played on. But yeah, dirt cheap. We have him for only 18 minutes right now, and he's already popping as one of the best values. If that number comes up over 20, and there's a good chance it does, he's going to be tough to get away from. So I actually think he's safer probably than some of the Pacers' value just in terms of point per dollar. At the same time, if Jackson plays 20 minutes and scores 10 fantasy points, I don't think anyone's going to be shocked. I'm definitely going to have him in a lot of my lineups tonight, but not the type of player I like to go 100%. What's your take on Reggie, man, assuming he's a starter?
Yeah, love Reggie here, and I think I'll probably be lesser on Nimhard than I was earlier for sure.
Yeah, I'm with it. Levine or DeJounte Murray in tournaments for you?
Ooh, that's really close.
It's tough. They're both good.
I'm gonna answer this twice. I'm gonna say Murray on FanDuel, Levine on DraftKings. That's what I'm
Nice.
gonna put it.
I like it. Who plays an OKC Sixers blowout is the keys to the top. I mean, it's been who? Isaiah Joe, right? We've seen Kenrich Williams get run in the fourth, even though he's a vet. Um, I don't know. Aaron Wiggins, kind of a hybrid. It'd probably be Joe Wiggins, maybe Kenrich. Is there anyone you're interested in a presumed Thunder blowout? I don't know that we can project it necessarily, but it's probably Wiggins and Joe.
Yeah, that's what I'd project too, and I just don't really want to go that deep in terms of plays.
Beantown with a tough one here. Is Bona in play now at center? Again, Yabusele's starting. Bona probably coming off the bench. To me, no, just because we haven't seen him play more than 15 minutes. He's pretty good points per minute, but not good enough for me to want to play him if he's not going to play 20 plus. So that's a no for me, but seems to be pretty talented. Definitely a player to keep an eye on.
Yeah, no Bona for me.
Are you getting to any Roddy with DeAndre Hunter out? To me, it's like reassure ahead of him. Obviously, we talked about Krejci, Bogdanovich. I don't think it's insane to think Roddy maybe gets some minutes here. Probably behind Garrison Matthews on the depth chart as well, though. So he's way down the list for me, man. Unless you're playing Showdown, I don't think I get to him. How about you? Any
Yeah,
Roddy?
I think he definitely gets a boost. I just don't know how much of a boost if he's in play for DFS is kind of my concern there.
Yep, I'm with it. Ayo Gary Trent ran through this news. Oh yeah, Savage Ricky Council could be the low value. Yeah, he's a guy who gets blowout run. Pretty sure he was good in the preseason. Any thoughts on Ricky Council there, Jayhawk?
I don't think he's a crazy play. Probably a pivot to Reggie. Probably is how I put it there. But I think he's not a crazy shot there at low ownership.
Yeah. Junior asking Tosan tonight. I would say no if D'Lo and Cam Johnson are back. Junior, if they're both out, you could maybe do it, but don't feel good about it. Murray or T Martin? I mean, if you're talking about T Martin on the Nets, I don't even know which Murray. Oh, Keegan Murray, definitely Keegan Murray all
Uh,
day.
yeah,
I'm like not Dejounte, not Jamal. Ricky Council the best bet. It's risky, man. Um, it's risky. I think all the bets on Philly are a little bit risky just because of the matchups. They do play fast, though, Casey. Um, I mean, our model's saying Oubre is the best bet for whatever that's worth. Probably a lot. I mean, Jeff Downton's going to come off the bench. Not a guy I have any interest in. Don't trust Edwards either. Council, my favorite bench play. So, yeah, if you need to play something off of the bench for the 76ers, it would be Council. I don't think you necessarily need to, though.
yeah. I think
All
he's in
right.
play for sure.
Yeah.
price.
Yeah, it's risky, but he's probably worth
Yeah.
taking a quick look at. All right, so since we're not on double duty, let's do a really quick build here. I don't know. Let me take a look at the last ownership run. Still no Jackson at the top, but he's popping. I mean, we like Matherin. I think we agreed on that.
Yeah, I think Matherin's the one Indiana guy I'm probably most comfortable with.
Yeah. Is Jokic your favorite pay up, or
Yeah, either Giannis or Jokic, whoever we can fit in there.
I'm gonna go Jokic for now just to see what we can go around him with. So assuming Reggie Jackson starts, tough not to just use that square. Um,
Yeah,
what else do we want to go with here? I mean, which Hawks are we
Jake
getting to
Krejci.
now? Bog.
Bog or Krejci. Yeah, I like them both.
I mean, I like Krejci better, but I think we could probably play both.
They both
It
should
is a
look a
good
lot better.
matchup.
Yeah,
Then what else are we looking at? Power forward, and again, we're doing this really fast, guys. Obviously, keep an eye on lineups, news, etc. I think Keegan Murray.
yep. Love Keegan.
I mean, we could almost pay up twice, but we got 8,100 left for a forward and a utility. I mean,
We could
Shady
try to
on
get.
Sharp, I think in the late game makes sense. I want to see what that leaves us. 10-1. Trey, Sabonis. I mean, we'd have to move some stuff around. Um,
Yeah,
that
Sharp's
should be
good
done.
too.
Yeah, I mean, we got options. I mean, if we're leaving you here, like you could come off Sharp. I don't know. Could we
What if we
fit
went
Giannis?
Giannis
I'm
too?
curious.
Yeah, but
The Giannis Jokic lineup looks like this. I mean, you got to play one of like Christian Brown or Patrick Williams, which is maybe a
uh,
reassure. It's probably too much Atlanta, but something like this. All right. What the hell is this?
oh boy.
Paul George is out. So whoever asked
Oh,
about what's his name, Ricky Council the fourth, get a lot of him in your lives tonight. They only have, I think, eight
uh,
guys available, unless Pete Nance is with the team. Larry Nance's brother, who looks exactly like him. I think, yeah, we're gonna have to get to some council now. Oubre looks really good. Jackson's even safer. This is insane. They're kind of just giving this game away. It seems like, but they don't have the bodies. So similar to the Nets, like you kind of just have to play some of this value. But what is this changing for you? Just real quick, Jayhawk, and we'll get out of here.
yeah, it's definitely Ricky Council looks amazing, and then Eric Gordon's starting too. So I think I'd probably rank them Reggie Council, Oubre, and then maybe some Gordon, but all these guys are going to look a lot better.
Yep, I'm with it, man. And then yeah, there goes low on council. But yeah, good luck everyone tonight. A lot of news coming in last minute. All the more reason to get into the Discord. We got Smitty in there right now breaking down these lineups as they come out. Check the links in the description below to get access. You also get access to the model you see here. We have a lineup builder, cheaper than pretty much anyone in the industry for even better data. So like the video, subscribe to the channel, crush it tonight. Take care, everyone, and good luck.